Welcome to our class, students. Students, in our last video, we have discussed about Geography chapter 1 and we have discussed about the sun, and today we are going to discuss about the planets. So the same chapter, Geography, the Earth and the solar system, and we will discuss about the planets. Students, we know that there are 8 planets in our solar system, and if we see from the sun, the planets are Mercury first, then Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. So these are the 8 planets we find in the solar system, and these are in order, that means from sun. If we see, these are the position. The 8 planets in order of their decreasing size, that means from bigger to smaller. If we see, then first is Jupiter, it is the largest planet. Then we find Saturn, then Uranus, then Neptune, then Earth, then Venus, then Mars and then Mercury. So this is the decreasing order. If we see from the largest to smallest, from Jupiter, and the smallest is Mercury. The planets are generally classified into 2 groups. Here these 8 planets are divided into 2 groups. These are inner planets and outer planets. So inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars, these are called inner planets. These 4 planets are close to the sun, so they are very close to the sun, that is why they are called inner planets, and they are made up of rocks. So these 4 planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars, these 4 planets are made up of rocks, and that is why they are heavy. So they are also called, so because of these are made of rocks, so they are also called terrestrial planets, that is the Earth-like planets. These planets are like Earth only, this Mercury, Venus and Mars. So that is why they are called terrestrial planets. Now outer planets. Outer planets we find these are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. These 4 planets are called outer planets. They are called gas giants also. They are also called gas giants, as they are made up of gases. So these 4 planets are made up of gases, and these 4 planets are made up of rocks. The planets are heavenly bodies. So all the planets are heavenly bodies. These all we find in the space. That is why these are called heavenly bodies. They do not have their own light and heat. So planets do not have their own light and heat. And why they shine? They shine as they reflect the light of the sun. So as they do not have any light, so when the light from the sun falls on them, they reflect. That is why we can see the other planets. All the planets are spherical in shape. So the shape of the planets, all the planets are spherical. That means they are like a ball. So like our Earth only. They revolve around the sun. So all the planets they move around the sun. Sun is at the center and other planets they move around. It is the revolution, you can say, and they are elliptical path. Elliptical path, that means it is not completely circle. It is like this. This is the elliptical shape. So elliptical path, this is the road where they move around. So their road, every planet they have their own path, own line. They do not move here and there. And these paths are called their orbits. These are called their orbits. They move around the sun from west to east. So their moving pattern is from west side to, from this side they start and they move like that. That means anti-clockwise, not clockwise. While revolving around the sun, the planets also rotate on their axis. So not only they revolve around the sun, they spin themselves. That means on their axis, the imaginary line axis, on that, like our Earth, they rotate. Earth planet takes a different time to complete one revolution around the sun and one rotation on its axis. That means the Earth takes, when it moves on its axis, it takes another time, and when it revolves the sun, it takes another time. So the time is not the same. Now students, let us come to know about our planet. And our planet, we know it is Earth. The Earth is the third planet from the sun and the fifth largest in the solar system. That means if we see, Earth is the third planet from the sun. First is Mercury, then Venus, then Earth. So Earth is the third planet and it is the fifth largest. That means among 8 planets, Earth is the fifth largest in the solar system. It is the largest among the inner planets. So inner planets we know Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars. And this Earth is the largest among the inner planets. It is unique in the solar system. So this Earth is unique in the solar system. That means among the 8 planets, Earth is the only different from other planets. And why it is unique, let us come to know. The best location with reference to the sun. That means if we see from the sun, other planets are very close and some planets are very far from the sun. But Earth is the best location where it is. Favorable environmental conditions for the origin and survival of various forms of life. So as it is the best location from the sun, not that much heat and that much cold we are getting. So that is why we can live here. The human beings, animals, plants, so all the things we find on this Earth. The rotation of the Earth on its axis keeps the extremes of temperature between day and night. That means when the Earth rotates on its axis, so it keeps the extremes of temperature. That means if when we get the 24 hours heat, we cannot live. But when it rotates, we are getting the night, and night time the temperature is less, daytime it is more. So that way it keeps the extremes of temperature. A favorable temperature for the existence of life. So here we find the favorable temperature, that is not that much heat, not that much cold also. It is the favorable temperature, you can say. Then the range of temperature on the surface of the earth wherein water can remain in its three forms: ice, water and vapor. So these three forms, I think in your previous classes also you have found, that means in class 3, 4, 5 also, that the water has three forms. And three forms, why it is possible? Because of the temperature, favorable temperature. These three forms, we are getting the ice also. If we go to the mountains, if we go to the hills, we find the snow. Then water also we find in the plain areas, and water vapor also. That means because of the temperature, the water goes up and again it comes down as rain. Then the presence of adequate water in the oceans. So we find the adequate, that means sufficient water we find in the oceans and seas, which provides ideal conditions for the origin and evolution of life. So if water is not sufficient, then the origin of life, that means the new life, like the small kids are born, taking birth. So because of this presence of adequate water, this water helps us to moisture the atmosphere. The presence of an atmosphere, so in this earth we find the presence of atmosphere, which protects the earth from harmful ultraviolet radiations coming from the sun. So directly the heat which comes to earth, it is not good. So this is called ultraviolet rays. This can harm us, and the atmosphere only it protects us. That means that layer protects us. This atmosphere protects us from this ultraviolet rays of the sun. Then the oxygen rich atmosphere. That means in the atmosphere we find the oxygen. More oxygen we find in the atmosphere, which is necessary for the survival of human beings and other forms of life. So whatever lives are there on this earth, it is possible because of this oxygen which is there in the atmosphere. So that is why the earth is called unique. In other planets you will not find this type of things. That is why our earth is very unique. The earth is the only planet in the solar system which is not named after a mythological deity. That means mythological means after the god. The name is not given after the god. The symbol of our planet is a circle containing two lines perpendicular to each other. Two lines, that means the vertical and horizontal. These two lines are there. It represents the intersection of the equator and the prime meridian. That means in the middle of that means suppose it is the earth and perpendicular lines, parallel lines we find here. One line, it is north, south, west and east. So these two lines, north pole to south pole, one line we find, and from east to west to east we find another line. So these two lines, it divides the earth. So two equal parts we find from north. It is called northern hemisphere. It is called southern hemisphere. Then eastern hemisphere, western hemisphere. So these four hemisphere also we get. So when astronauts first saw the earth from space, so when astronauts first went into the space and they looked the earth, it is blue in color. So the color of the earth is blue when they have seen from the space. And it is because of the presence of water. That means the water is more here on our earth. And if we see from the outer space, then it looked blue in color. So the earth is also called the watery planet or the blue planet. So the earth is also called blue planet or watery planet because water is more here. In ancient times, people thought that the earth was flat in shape. So earlier people they thought that it is like flat, it is not complete circle. Then Aristotle and Copernicus, they declared that the earth is spherical in shape. So Aristotle and Copernicus only they told that the earth is not flat, it is spherical, it is like a ball. Actually the earth is not a perfect sphere, so it is not a complete sphere, not complete like a ball. Due to the rotation of the earth, it is slightly bulging at the equator and flattened at the poles. So here this portion is not complete, it is little bit flat, and here also we find little bit flat, and this portion is bulging. You can see it is like an orange, you can say. So how the orange shape, like that only our earth's shape. It is called bulging, that means it is little bigger, and here it is flattened at the two poles, north pole and south pole. Thus its equatorial diameter is about 44 km more than its polar diameter. So here you can see the distance is less, here it is more. So here 44 kilometers, here we find more because this is flat and this side is also flat. So here if we see both the lines, so this line is 44 kilometers more. So students, this is all about our planet, why our planet Earth is special, or you can say unique. Okay, so up to this much today we have discussed, and in our next class we will discuss about the other planets also. Then satellites, moon, so many things are there we will discuss. So let us conclude here, and in our next video we will discuss about the other planets and the things whatever left in this chapter. So let us conclude here. Thank you. You watch the video, try to understand. Okay, thank you.